the A-10C Warthog in DCS world. So it's been actually a very long time since I've flown. So this is really just getting an understanding of all the controls again and getting the first day of basic training again done. So hope you guys enjoy it. It's really just going to be just doing the boot camp side of things and let the game kind of retrain me. So we'll see how that works out, right? Start getting this going. So all you new guys that are starting out, you can kind of sit there and see how the tutorials work, because I'm going to be going through most of these, more than likely all of them, each one as I go, so I can relearn everything. So let's see how this works out. I do have an SSD. Here you go. So mission overview. Starting on US, my task, close air support. Let's see, weather's normal. Takeoff departure. Alright, so I'm just gonna do this step by step, let the game teach me, reteach me, I would say the least. So let's see how this works out.
Good morning, Nugget. Welcome to the A-10C conversion training course. Over the next few days, we'll teach you to fly and fight in the latest incarnation of the toughest, meanest, and ugliest jet in the Air Force inventory, the A-10C Thunderbolt II, better known as the Warthog or simply the Hog. In this brief introduction, we'll overview the A-10 and take a quick glance inside the cockpit. Please do not touch any input controls while watching this lesson. You can press the pause key on your keyboard if you need a break. Your jet's waiting on the ramp, so let's get to it. The A-10C is the latest upgrade to the venerable A-10 Thunderbolt II close air support attack aircraft. The A-10 has been around since the 1970s, and despite efforts to kill it off earlier, the Hog plays a vital role in U.S. military operations around the world today. Its original mission was to kill Soviet tanks streaming through the Fulda Gap, but today it's perhaps the most effective weapon in Iraq and Afghanistan. Long loader times, large weapon loads, redundant systems, and powerful sensors make the Hog a favorite of pilots and ground troops alike. Let's take a look at some of the key features of the A-10C.
Make this go any faster. Hopefully the next part of this goes through.
The A-10 has a pair of straight wings that provide excellent lift and maneuverability at slow speeds. However, these same wings contribute to the A-10 being a bit of a slowpoke. The wings have large trailing edge flaps, 11 stations for stores loading, and large fuel tanks. The fuselage also holds a pair of fuel tanks, but was largely built around the massive GAU 8A Avenger 7-barrel 30mm cannon. Two engines are mounted externally high on the rear fuselage. Flight control is provided by large ailerons on the wings, twin elevators on the tailplane, and rudders on the vertical stabilizers. All these control surfaces have backup systems that keep the A-10 flying even after severe battle damage. The flight control system uses a combination of hydraulic and mechanical linkages run through the stability augmentation system that make the A-10 a very controllable and stable aircraft to handle. Two TF-34 GE108 turbofan engines are mounted high on the rear fuselage. These engines are fuel efficient, durable, and can take a lot of damage. The unusual position masks the engines from enemy heat-seeking sensors, minimizes the risk of foreign object and battle damage to both engines, and makes them easier to service. The A-10 also has an auxiliary power unit that can be used to start the engines and run the electrical and hydraulic systems on the ground.
So this thing is a beast. Packs a punch and takes a punch. Love it. Oh, look at that.
Let's take a look inside the A-10C's office. This has received quite a facelift since the A-10A. The first noticeable difference is the pit is dominated by two 5x5 inch multifunction color displays. A new control stick borrowed from the F-16 and a right throttle handle from the F-15E are installed to increase HOTAS functionality. An upfront controller below the heads-up display is used for data entry, and the Armament HUD control panel has replaced the older Armament control panel for combat systems configuration. The pit can be divided into the four primary areas: the HUD and canopy bow, the front dash, the left console, and the right console. We'll be using these references in later missions. Like the rest of the aircraft, the cockpit was designed to withstand battlefield punishment. The pilot and control links are surrounded by a 408 kilogram titanium bathtub to protect against shrapnel and AAA fire.
Zone that a little bit there. With the rest of the aircraft, the cockpit was designed to withstand battlefield punishment. That's protect against shrapnel. Okay. Just more overview information about the A-10C.
This concludes the overview of the A-10C. We'll begin taking a more thorough look at the aircraft starting with the next lesson. But now you've got a mandatory date with the Warthog flight manual, so get busy reading.
Oh, I forgot about that flight manual. Gonna have to read it again. There's so much to learn again. So much this thing. It's crazy. The amount of stuff we can do. Okay, so that was the introduction, just literally the overview of the Warthog. So the next step would be the HOTAS fundamentals, so getting accustomed to all the controls. So let's run. Long enough, I'll probably just do that and then for training. So do these in consumable. Too much stuff to absorb, but yeah, see how this works. So it looks like my stuff is working. So we got that. So we're starting off in the air. So this is gonna be pretty interesting. I don't remember this. I thought the original one was on the ground. Was everything was starting off on the ground, but we'll see how this works out.
Warning, autopilot.
Welcome to the HOTAS Fundamentals Training Flight. I've engaged the autopilot to keep us level and on course. Manage the throttle to maintain airspeed above 200 knots. In this flight, we will overview the primary controls in the cockpit used to work with the various flight and combat systems of the A-10C. If you find it hard to hear my instructions, exit the mission and lower the world and in-cockpit sound sliders to about 50%. You can pause the mission at any point by pressing the pause key on your keyboard. You can also set the mission to active pause mode by pressing left shift plus left wing plus pause key. To exit the mission at any point, press the escape key. You can use the numpad keys to pan the view around and press the numpad asterisk and numpad / key to zoom the view in and out. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin.
audio. Let's get some of this audio changed up. It's way loud. Alright, so volume. The world. Let's get that to 80 for a little bit. We'll adjust it as we go. Music can be there. Wow, that's loud. Let's see. Get this to like 82.
Pull up! Pull up!
Let's see what's going on here. Let's lower cockpit even more. Let's bring that down to like 50. We'll adjust it as we go because I don't want it too low either. A lot better, a lot lower. So like now let's go to adjust controls. I'm gonna have to do this for myself. That's what's gonna happen. Let's figure out where trim's at. Because I have a feeling that's really what's happening here. Or actually, let's check all the axes, I guess, maybe. Make sure everything's not being bound like crazy. So CH Pros, got pitch and roll, which shouldn't be there. How do I clear? Let's clear that. Let's clear that. So should only be utilizing that, so alright. Flight stick throttle both, which is that's how it should be. These guys can get cleared out. Don't know why those are mapped. One thing I should have done from when I used to play is I should have saved this loadout because I know I probably had this all customized nice and neat. Alright, so the stick, you got pitch, roll, rudder has to get taken away. Take all that stuff away. So I don't use a controller. Track IR is fine, mouse is fine. Now, that might actually fix it, but the next thing I want to do is actually look for, like I said in SOTAS, directly HOTAS. Okay, those are just other stuff. Alright, so the other thing would be... Let's see... Padlock. Where would, trim be? What am I looking for? Trim. I'm gonna have to go this route. See if I can't find anything that involves aircraft trimming. Trim elevation type stuff. Let's see. Actually, what I'm going to do too, so I know that's going to help, is bring up my profiler. Alright, so I think what'll help is, let's see some of these controls here. So, buttons, yeah, so it should be working. Trim up, trim down, I was right on those. TMS up, DMS down, so trim up, left, right. Just gonna leave that hidden. So HOTAS trim is what I'm probably should be looking at here. What's up? Left, right, come on. Where it is for my trims, throttle. There we go. Let's see what's wrong here. Trim nose up, down. Think this is it? Not 100% sure. It's right control, colon. Yeah, so we're good. So it must have been something else that was wrong. Maybe it had to do with this throttle working, but for some reason it wants to just pull up the whole entire time. There we go. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. Level her out, level her out. Got this. There we go. Yes, yes. That's a good girl. Alright, so I had it backwards. I was pressing the wrong side of the trim, that's why I was flying straight up. Now I gotta level it out. It's good. It's y'all's good on my stick. Seems about right. want throttle to be proper. Let's go. No, actually, while we're here, let's make sure everything here looks good. Can't adjust anything. It's probably because I'm already in game, maybe. Can't adjust anything. So let's go to adjust controls. Well, I was going to do how to do a throttle, so let's go to throttle. Where would she be? Where are your stuff for throttle? Access controls. There we go. I don't want both. Why is that bound again? So let's clear you out. Just make sure no access is in the wrong spot. That looks good. What we're gonna do is, alright, left throttle, straight, bam, right throttle, straight, bam. So all I have to do, they're both on, so we're good. Wheel brakes, which, if I remember correctly, why would wheel brake left? Oh, that's rudder. I'm looking I'm looking at the wrong thing. Alright, so left is left gas, that guy, right, that guy. So if I'm good, yep. There we go. What else? Let's make sure, make sure everything's good. So we're good on that for now. Let's test that out. Once that's done, I gotta do a little quick fix here too. Is my track IR is a little bit on the Yankee side of things, so let's bring track IR up. We're gonna go to smooth. So pause that, center that. Save profile. Let's see if that's a little better.
The A-10C utilizes hands-on throttling instead. HOTAS controls to allow the pilot to manipulate primary avionics controls without taking the hands off the stick and throttle. This saves time and eases the pilot's workload, but it also means the stick and throttle feature a lot of buttons that require practice to use effectively. In addition, the A-10C cockpit is designed to minimize the time the pilot spends head down to work the avionics. Many of the displays and avionics controls are presented on the upper part of the cockpit, where the pilot needs to only glance down to find the necessary control or display information. Press the spacebar key to proceed when ready.
Alright, I'm gonna have to take a little quick pause break here. Unfortunately, I've been drinking a lot of coffee. I shall be back in a moment, guys. back. Apologize for that. I swear coffee's gonna be the death of me. I'm a sinner and coffee's holy water to me. So, let's get back into the groove of things. Unpause.
Let's review the HOTAS controls available on the stick and throttle. Buttons and switches on the control stick include two-stage gun trigger, weapons release button, master mode control button, MMCB, target management switch, TMS, data management switch, DMS, countermeasure switch, CMS, nose wheel steering button, NWS, aircraft trim control hat. On the dual throttle, buttons and switches include mic switch, speed brake switch, boat switch, China hat switch, coolie switch, slew control, autopilot button, pinky switch. While we will use some of these controls as part of this lesson, there will not be enough time to practice with all of them. You will need to reference the aircraft documentation for a complete diagram of the HOTAS, as well as the keyboard shortcuts for all of the commands. Our goal today is to understand the fundamental concept of HOTAS control in the A-10C, and not the many functions of all of the buttons and switches. Press the spacebar key to proceed when ready. The cockpit includes three primary displays: the head-up display HUD on the top of the cockpit frame, and the left and right multifunction color displays MFCDs on the front panel. The MFCDs feature 20 option select buttons, OSB, around each display, starting with OSB 1 in the upper left corner and moving around the display clockwise. The function of each OSB is identified on the screen and depends on the page being displayed. OSBs 11 through 15 at the bottom of each MFCD set the primary page of the display. Press the spacebar key to proceed when ready. Because the avionics package of the A-10C is quite complex and features a number of different systems, it's impossible to include an individual HOTAS button on the stick and throttle to cover all the necessary control. This problem is overcome by designating a sensor of interest, SOI, which allows the pilot to set which sensor he wishes to command with the HOTAS. The SOI can be set between the HUD and either MFCD page by the pilot as necessary at any point using the coolie switch on the throttle. All HOTAS commands in the cockpit are provided a keyboard alternate. In the case of the coolie switch, these will be H for coolie left, K for coolie right, U for coolie up, and J for coolie down. Before trying to use these commands, it's also important to remember that some HOTAS commands, including the coolie switch, have a different function depending on whether they are pressed and released quickly, short press, or held down for a couple of seconds, long press. Press the spacebar key to proceed when ready. The right MFCD is currently displaying the targeting pod TGP page. The TGP is set to standby mode at mission start. To begin exploring HOTAS controls, let's first set the TGP to air-to-ground mode, AG, by pressing OSB 2 on the right MFCD. You now have three primary sensors displaying information in the cockpit: the HUD, the Tactical Awareness Display, TAD page on the left MFCD, and the TGP page on the right MFCD. Notice that both MFCD pages include a Not SOI message overlaid on the screen. This means neither display is set as SOI. The default setting at mission start is for the HUD to be SOI. Press the spacebar key to proceed when ready. When the HUD is SOI, it is indicated by an asterisk Q on the left side of the HUD. We'll now try some HOTAS commands with different sensors set as SOI. First, while keeping the HUD set as SOI, try moving the slew control on the throttle. Keyboard commands for slew control are semicolon for slew up, period for slew down, comma for slew left, and / for slew right. As you move the slew control around, you will see the target designator.
Let's take a moment here. I'm going to bring up my profile because I think this is going to be the best way for me to tell what he's actually talking about at the moment. So, let's bring up my throttle controls here again. I believe the slew is the little nib button that's on the side. I believe it. You can actually see it. No, this is a little bit different. So, continue. Pause break. Or did I?
TDC move on the HUD. Nothing will change on the MFCD pages. Move the TDC around the HUD and then press the spacebar key to proceed when ready. Now let's set the TAD page on the left MFCD as our SOI. Press and hold the coolie switch left command or the H key on the keyboard to perform a long press of the button. Good. The not SOI message has been removed from the left MFCD and the display is now inscribed by a green square to indicate that it is SOI. At the same time, the SOI asterisk has been removed from the HUD. Try again to move the slew control around, and you'll see that you are now controlling the TAD cursor on the left MFCD instead of the HUD TDC. Move the TAD cursor around and press the spacebar key to proceed when ready.
Pause, and then let's go to adjust controls, look for slew. I wonder if there's an option for me to actually sit here and slew command, if I'm correct, is what it should be under. Throttle, snap, right MFD, keyboard commands. Is there a way for me to, yeah, slew up, there we go. Slew up, slew down, left and right. It's only letting me up and down, so there's something wrong here. So that's why. Could be something wrong now with it won't let me slew right and left. So that's kind of weird. Let's test it over here. The weird thing is it does up and down, but I can't get left and right. Let's test that. I can figure this out, why it's not working as intended. Let's see. Alright. That's rather odd. We might have to figure that out as we go later. So let's see. We run into a situation.
Now let's set the TGP on the right MFCD as our soy. To do this, press and hold the coolie switch right command or the K key on the keyboard to perform a long press of the button. Once again, move the slew control around. This time, you will be controlling the TGP line of sight. You may notice the TGP diamond moving on the HUD and the TAD page, but this is only a helpful indication of where the TGP line of sight lies on the terrain. The slew control is currently commanding the TGP and not the TAD or the HUD. Move the TGP line of sight around, press the spacebar key to proceed when ready.
Alright, so it's half working. One thing I have to figure out is why I can't go left and right. I hope I can see it on the right. This is what it's looking at. I can go down and up, but I can't go left and right. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a quick test here and see if I can't just bind it, rebind it. Maybe that'll work. So left and right. So hold on. So there's slew left and slew down. I need left. Alright, let's try to get right. I believe right. See, it's not even detecting it. Is the only problem, you see? I only get up and down, but I'm not getting left or right. The only way I can kind of fix that is through the Rhino here. Rhino profiler. And let's try this. I'm going to bind it to something else to see if I can't get it to at least kind of work. Or at least see if it's working. We're looking at profile 1, so we'll save. Initiate it. Let's see if it's even detecting. Yeah, it's detecting. So there's just something wrong right now. Left alt. See, it's doing it. Actually, just as a quick test again. Let's grab into it. Keyboard command. What's going on? Alright, so slew right, slew left is what I needed to bring it back to. Yeah, I'm having troubles with my stick. First thing I ran into was slew left. There it is. See, it's not, for some reason it's not trying to grab. It's only grabbing up and down, but not left and right. And that's a huge problem when I'm trying to use MFDs, because that's important. Why is it not properly working? Alright, we're just gonna have to skip through it. Alright, we'll just have to skip through it. That sucks. This sucks. Alright, it's fine.
As we said earlier, some HOTAS commands have a different function depending on whether a short or long press is performed. In the case of the coolie switch, long left and right commands set the MFCD pages as SOI as we've seen, but short left and right commands can be used to cycle the MFCD pages. Try pressing the coolie switch right short command or K key on the keyboard a few times to cycle the right MFCD pages until you return to the TGP page. Now try cycling the left MFCD pages by pressing the coolie switch left short command or the H key on the keyboard repeatedly until you return to the TAD page. The coolie switch down short command on the keyboard will swap the left and right MFCD pages. Press the coolie switch down short command or the J key on the keyboard once to swap pages, then once more to return them to their current state. The coolie switch down long command will perform a DSMS quick look function, allowing you to see the digital store's management system page to check the status of your weapon stations for as long as the switch is held down. Try performing a DSMS quick look by holding down the coolie switch down command or the J key on the keyboard for a few seconds. Finally, the coolie switch up short command is used to set the HUD as SOI. There is no function for the coolie switch up long command. Set the HUD as SOI by pressing the coolie switch up short command or the U key on the keyboard. Whereas the slew control maintains a conceptually consistent function regardless of what sensor is set as SOI, some HOTAS commands perform different functions based on the particular SOI. For example, the data management switch DMS on the control stick will have a variety of functions depending on the SOI. When the HUD is SOI, DMS up-down short commands will cycle through the waypoints currently loaded by the navigation system. DMS left-right short commands will cycle through the loaded weapon profiles. Try pressing the DMS up-down short commands or the home and end keys on the keyboard to cycle through your waypoints. Then try pressing the DMS left-right short commands or the delete and page down keys on the keyboard to cycle through your weapon profiles. You will see the data on the HUD change as you cycle waypoints and weapon profiles. Press the spacebar key to proceed after becoming familiar with the HUD SOI DMS short command functions.
Let's figure out which is DMS on the CMD. So let's go here. Assuming DMS is on the throttle side. Hat 2 DMS up. Yep. It's throttle side. Alright, so for example, try pressing DMS up short command.
Let's now see what the DMS short commands do when the TAD is SOI. First, change the SOI from the HUD to the TAD by pressing the coolie switch left long command or holding down the H key on the keyboard. When the TAD is soy, the DMIS up-down short commands control the TAD map scale. The DMIS right short command switches between centered and depressed map modes. The DMIS left short command has no function. Press the DMIS up, down, right short commands or the home, in, and page down keys on the keyboard to try the DMIS short functions with the TAD set as soy. Press the spacebar key to proceed after becoming familiar with the TAD, soy, DMIS short command functions. Now let's set the TGP as soy and see what the DMIS does. Press the coolie switch right long command or hold down the K key on the keyboard to set the TGP as soy. When the TGP is soy, the DMIS up-down short commands control the TGP zoom factor. The DMIS right short command switches target designation modes between laser, IR pointer, and both. The DMIS left short command engages the TGP autofocus function. If the TGP view is obstructed by the aircraft fuselage, you can slew the line of sight upward until it's once again ahead of the aircraft. Press the DMIS up, down, left, right short commands or the home, in, delete, and page down keys on the keyboard to try the DMIS short functions with the TGP set as soy. Press the spacebar key to proceed after becoming familiar with the TGP soy DMIS short command functions.
You guys can hear me okay? Let me know. The audio's not too loud. Let's continue with this.
Let's return the HUD as soy. Press the coolie switch up short command or the U key on the keyboard. The final concept we'll discuss today is the sensor point of interest or SPI. The SPI is the focal point of your combat sensors and is generally the point marking the location of the target, usually set on the ground. There can only be one SPI at a time. For example, before dropping a satellite-guided JDAM bomb, you need to set the target's position as a SPI. The target's coordinates are then downloaded by the bomb's guidance system to allow it to find the target after release. Press the spacebar key to proceed when ready. The SPI can only be set by a soy. When the HUD is soy, the TDC sets the SPI. When the TGP or Maverick missile is soy, the crosshair set the SPI. When the TAD is soy, the SPI can be set by the TAD cursor over any TAD icon, including data-linked icons sent from other friendly units. Regardless of what sensor is set as soy, the SPI is always set by the Target Management Switch TMS up long command or holding down the left control and up arrow keys on the keyboard. Press the spacebar key to proceed when ready. We'll now try setting a SPI with the HUD set as soy by placing the TDC over a point on the ground. Slew the TDC into the highlighted box on the HUD and press the TMS up long command or hold down the left control plus up arrow keys on the keyboard to designate this point as the SPI.
Hold on. I'm gonna have to even out. Let's try that again. Where are you? There you go. Alright, so how do I mark this? Once it's there. CTC into the highlighted box in the HUD. Mark panel down. Once it's marked, I hold it. What was it? Oh man, I need the I need the subtitles again. Shoot. I kind of missed what it was trying to tell me right there, because I figured out how to get the slew to move left and right, but oh man, and there's no way for me to backtrack. Maybe briefing? Is there a way for me to actually see what he was telling me earlier? Because right now I'm kind of fudged. There's no way. I'm just gonna have to take a chance. It's there. Hold it up, maybe. No. Alright, come on. I got rid of it. Can't remember which one it was. Mission failed. We'll get him next time. That sucks. There's no way for me to rewind that little bit of what he was talking about, because I do not remember. What is the button to select once you have the POI set to where you want it to? Damn, that sucks. There's no way for me to rewind it a little bit, what he was talking about. The only way I can do this is hopefully get lucky. Figure out. I know I had to do it for longer. See, I can't get what I want.
The SPI is now set by the HUD TDC as indicated in the bottom left corner of the HUD. Note, there is a range limit when setting the SPI using the TDC, so it may not work when setting at a range further ahead of the aircraft. Once a SPI is set by any sensor, the HOTAS China Hat Forward Long command can be used to automatically slew all of your combat systems to the SPI location. Try pressing the China Hat Forward Long command or holding down the V key on the keyboard to slave all sensors to the SPI.
China hat forward, which is, I believe, the black.
With your sensors now focused on the target area, you could work with the TGPS SOI to get a better look at the target, obtain a positive ID, and refine the SPI location by designating the desired target as the SPI using the TGP crosshairs. Let's now press the TMS down long command or hold down the left control plus down arrow keys to cancel the current SPI.
TMS down long.
When not set elsewhere by the pilot, the SPI defaults to the current steer point location, which is the waypoint selected for navigation. This concludes the HOTAS fundamentals lesson. Practice using the various HOTAS commands until you feel comfortable performing them without thinking. It will be an invaluable skill on the battlefield.
Well, that was fun. I figured it out. So TMS on my joystick, I can show you. Here. My joystick's a little bit different, but it's actually me. I was trying to figure it out with that one right there. That's the button right there. Alright, so at least we kind of got that figured out. My only issue right now is the fact that I can't see left and right. It's not being detected on my joystick. It's really odd. But at least I figured that out. So let's go back to the menu. So I would grade myself on that one as a C. I barely passed. Alright, so I believe all I have to do is is it quit? I don't want to quit the desktop, so I believe it's just quit. That was rather interesting. It took me a little while to figure that one out, and that was not too fun. Whoa, there's something going on over here. Yeah, I might have to really figure that one out. Don't know why my slew is not working 100%. So, the next part of this mission and training schedule would be startup, which is really what I want to start learning again. So, aircraft. The troubleshooting that I'm doing, it is training day 1, so I'm gonna get a lot of mistakes happening. Alright, so let's get this guy started.
Good morning. In this mission, we will practice the startup procedure for the A-10C. There's a lot to cover, so feel free to take a break by pressing the pause key at any point. It will be important for you to follow my instructions to the letter. Do not jump ahead and start mashing buttons and throwing switches. I will guide you with by referring to the front dash and left and right consoles. You can pan around the cockpit using your view control commands to locate the switches. If you find it hard to hear my instructions over the background noise, exit the mission and turn down the world and in-cockpit sound sliders to about 50% in the options menu. As described in the flight manual, a pre-flight check is normally performed prior to startup to ensure the aircraft is configured properly. However, for the purposes of this lesson, we'll begin the startup sequence with the aircraft's initial configuration set as it would be at the start of all missions. The startup procedure will consist of initiating electrical power, starting the APU, followed by the left and right engines, and finally powering up and preparing all essential avionics. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for that. That was loud. Once I can close the cockpit, it'll get quieter though.
First, set the battery switch on the electrical panel on the right side console to power. This will provide power to the DC buses and the APU. Follow the highlight at the bottom right corner of the screen to locate the switch. Good. Now set the inverter switch on the same panel to standby. This will allow AC power to be supplied to numerous aircraft instruments. It will also provide power to the engine igniters. With electrical power now running, we can take a moment to test the caution and warning systems to make sure that we will receive warnings in case something goes wrong during startup. To do this, press and hold the lamp test button on the auxiliary lighting panel on the left console. Take a look around the cockpit while you hold down the button to make sure that all of the caution lights are functional and you can hear an audible warning tone. Everything looks good. Now let's test the fuel indicator to make sure it's functional and accurate. The fuel indicator is located on the right side of the front dash. When tested, the two needles should point to 3,000 pounds, and the digital tonalizer readout should be around 6,000 pounds. On the oxygen regulator panel, set the supply switch to on, and check for oxygen flow to be indicated in the flow window. Press the Oxy-In Test Oxygen Indicator Test button to test the oxygen remaining indicator. Watch the Oxy-Low caution light on the caution lights panel to turn on when the indication falls below 0.5 liters. We also need to power the radios to communicate with ATC and mission assets. Set the VHF AM frequency mode dial to TR, transceiver. Now repeat the process for the VHF FM radio. Set the UHF radio function dial to main to power the UHF radio.
There we go. Should be on main. I'm not looking at it right.
We are now ready to begin the engine start sequence, but let's first close the canopy to minimize the noise. Right click and hold the canopy control switch to lower the canopy, or press left control plus C on the keyboard. Starting the engines will take several minutes and require a few steps. First, we need to provide power to the boost pumps of the left and right wing tanks and left and right fuselage tanks. You will find the 4 switches on the fuel system control panel toward the top of the left console. Set all 4 switches to the up position.
Let's test something here. Now that I'm starting to understand a lot of my buttons. Okay. Alright, so let's get all the engine's components on. Gotta figure that out. So boost pump left wing. Let me look that up because I know I have my shortcuts set up for this. Let's find it real quick. Pumps. I think it'll be quicker if I actually look through it through here. Engine control panel. There then. Camera, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Alright, so stop left, right alt end. There's so much stuff I have to bring back up. It's crazy. And relearn. So let's go here, back in there. Engine top left. Home. So right alt home. These are all my shift commands. It's for sure it's not that. So right shift control alt S, what does that do? It'll give me an indicator of what my controls are. Right shift? Right shift, yeah. So right shift. So right shift control alt. Let's see if I can't find one of those. Right shift control alt. Right shift control alt. Right shift control. Where would it be? Be nice if I can rename them on my thing here. Let's go a little easier here. Let's go with this. So Shift Control Alt Q. Shift Control Alt Q. Alright, let's see what that one does at least. It's a bunch of buttons.
Before starting the engines, we need to start the auxiliary power unit, APU, which will generate bleed air used to start the main engines. As you start the APU, be ready to monitor the APU exhaust gas temperature, EGT, and RPM gauges on the engine monitoring instruments EMI panel located on the bottom right of the front dash. Go ahead and set the APU start switch to start. Now let's return to the electrical panel and set the APU generator switch to the power position. This will allow the APU generator to power the aircraft and relieve the battery drain. However, the battery needs to remain on as a backup electrical source. While on the electrical panel and in preparation of the engine start sequence, let's also set the left and right AC generators up to power. Once the engines are started, they will begin to turn the AC generators and take over from the APU to provide electrical power. Okay, time to crank up the left engine. This is a very simple process initiated simply by moving the left throttle from off to idle or pressing the right Alt plus Home keys. This will automatically start fuel flow, use bleed air from the APU to turn the fans, and then ignite the fuel in the combustion chamber.
Crank up the sample by moving the left throttle from on to idle. Didn't work. I'm assuming. How do I do that again? Alright, so moving the left throttle from off to idle, or pressing the right alt button. This will automatically start the fuel flow. Alright, let's see.
As the engine spools up, scan the engine monitoring instruments panel to watch the engine interstage turbine temperature, ITT, engine core speed, fan speed, and fuel flow gauges. Watch for the core fan RPM to stabilize around 60% when idling on the ground. You will also notice the left hydraulic system's pressure begin to build. This will normalize between 2,800 and 3,350 psi. Once the left engine is running normal and stable, press the spacebar key to proceed. We'll now repeat the process for the right engine. Once again, the engine is started by moving the throttle from off to idle, or in this case, pressing the right control plus home keys. As with the left engine, monitor the instrumentation as the right engine spools up. Also watch the right hydraulic system pressure to normalize. Once you have both engines running normally at idle power, you can do a flight controls check to test the responsiveness of the controls to stick and rudder input. Test the speed brakes and flaps. Press the spacebar key to proceed once everything checks out.
Right now I'm just gonna make sure everything's idle correctly at the right temperature. Press this. You can see it going up. This is a pressure temperature. This should normalize around the same thing, around 5,000. 5,000. We're looking good here. Now, let's check the wings. Make sure everything's working as intended. Make sure we can clear that. Navigation. I don't think I can get that far. Let's see about air brake. There we go. Air brake is good. Good, let's link it together. Okay, that's something to that line up. Alright, so we're good to continue.
With both engines now running and powering the left and right AC generators, we can turn off the APU generator on the electrical panel and then the APU itself on the throttle panel.
This one first, and then the actual.
Okay, now we'll power up the control display unit, CDU, and the embedded GPS INS IGI systems. This will begin the automated built-in test, BIT, and alignment processes for the navigation system, which you can monitor on the CDU display on the right console.
Alright, so let's start getting those guys on.
Uncage the standby attitude indicator, SAI, on the front dash. To do this, turn the SAI cage knob to the left by rolling your mouse wheel down over the knob. Once uncaged, roll the wheel back to set the SAI aircraft indicator level on the horizon. Turn on the multifunction color displays, MFCDs, by left-clicking twice on the power switch for each display.
Twice on this display, it should be powering.
While we are waiting for the CDU bit and IGI alignment to complete, we can continue the startup sequence. Turn on the Central Interface Control Unit, CICU, on the Armament HUD Control Panel, AHCP, on the front dash. This will provide essential user interface controls to numerous aircraft systems, including the left and right multifunction color displays, MFCDs. The MFCDs are now on. In a few moments, they will display the Data Transfer System DTS page, which we will use to upload navigation and weapon configuration data saved on the data cartridge from the mission planner. Now, set the Integrated Flight and Fire Control Computer IFF-CC switch to the test position by left-clicking once. The IFF-CC provides weapon release calculations, attitude control, and HUD indication. In test mode, the system will run a series of automated bits, which you can monitor on the HUD. Press the ENT enter button on the upfront controller UFC to initiate the IFF-CC bit. This will take approximately 1 minute. While waiting for the IFF-CC to undergo the bit and the IGI system to finish aligning, let's set up our flight control systems. Set the left and right yaw and pitch SAS channels on the SAS panel on the left console to on. Now press the TO trim button to set the flight controls for takeoff trim.
Pull up, pull up.
Yeah.
Altitude, altitude.
Let's upload data from the data cartridge. Select Load All on the left MFCD by pressing the Option Select button 10. The DTS will take about 15 seconds to transfer the data from the cartridge to the jet. During this time, all the asterisks accompanying each data type on the left side of the displays will disappear. When all the asterisks reappear, the data has been transferred successfully. Once the data is loaded, set the right MFCD to display CDU data by pressing OSB 13. This way you don't have to take your head down to check CDU indication. The IFFCC bit is now complete. As you can see on the HUD, the exit function is currently pointed to by the HUD cursor. Press the Enter key on the UFC to exit this HUD menu. The IFCC is now displaying the ground bit menu on the HUD, where you can run a number of other bits if necessary. To exit out of this menu, press the Select Rocker key on the UFC down repeatedly until the HUD cursor points to exit again. Then press Enter to exit this menu. The IFFCC is now displaying the main menu on the HUD, where you can set up various indication and weapon release parameters. Let's take the IFFCC out of test mode and set it to on by left-clicking the IFFCC switch one more time. Let's set the left MFCD to the Tactical Awareness Display TAD page by pressing OSB 15. Now load up the flight plan. Right-click the steer point switch on the AAP panel to set it to flight plan. This will set the flight route to appear on the TAD display.
Can't really read it. Flight plan.
With our flight and navigation systems ready, we can prepare some of the combat systems for the mission. Set the countermeasure signal processor mode switch on the CMSP panel to standby. For a combat sortie, you may want to review or create some countermeasures programs, but that is for another lesson.
Alright, so standby is that one. So
Now
that's
set the
left
four
right.
system select switches to on, middle position. Next, set the Joint Tactical Radio System JTRS switch on the AHCP to on. This will provide power to the Situational Awareness data link saddle. With the IGI aligned, let's select CDU nav mode by pressing OSB 9 on the right MFCD. Select the EGI as the primary navigation system on the Navigation Mode Select panel.
EGI.
Next, arm the Enhanced Attitude Control EAC switch on the Low Altitude Safety and Targeting Enhancement LASTE panel on the left console. Note this switch is hidden under the throttle, so you may have to shift your view position to see it, but it is still clickable with the mouse. Turn on the radar altimeter.
Radar altimeter.
At this point, we are ready to taxi to the runway. Set the anti-skid switch to on. Now turn on the nose wheel steering by pressing the pinky button on the control stick or insert on the keyboard. Click on the yellow handle to arm the ejection seat.
That thing's ready to go now.
Taxiing out to the runway requires tower permission, so we will end our startup lesson here. Tomorrow you're going up. See you then.
Okay, we did day one. That was fun and interesting and entertaining for me. But yeah, I gotta practice this until I get this down on points, so I can turn everything off exactly how it's intended without having to run and look for everything. So we're gonna be ending this video here. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. If you do enjoy it, let me know. Like, subscribe, give me some feedbacks. Let me know if I'm taking too long in explaining things or how you like the video. But we're gonna leave this as day one. The next day is actually for taking off, doing some flight stuff, so I can get some practice before I can get all that stuff situated. So hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.